Good morning, beautiful.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I was just exploring my virtual living room there for a second. Sorry about that. I
Oh,
wanted to see if I would disappear into the background if I moved in a weird way.
yeah, I hear you. I like that background.
Thanks. Yeah, it's my new
I
house.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, it's like cell phone covers. Why not change it up every now and then, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you play the piano, by the way?
I do. I'm a very accomplished pianist. That's why I've got my grand piano in the back
Oh,
there.
wow. I learned something new about you today. All
The
right.
next episode will be me giving a concert.
Love it, Allison. Spill the beans today. All right, cool. Um, So, welcome to all of you from afar, from perhaps local to both Allison and myself this morning on this Tuesday here in Chicago. We've got great weather as I look at my window compared to yesterday. But hey, what is it? Rain brings, spring flowers, right? We need
April
that.
showers bring May
There
flowers.
you go. We need that as much as possible. And oh, by the way, Allison,
Yes.
in the event I forget, or in the event we don't have a chance to catch up with each other sometime this week, happy early Mother's Day to you.
Thank you so much, Bill. That's so sweet. Thank you. I keep forgetting that it's this weekend, and I'm like, I got to get my mom's card and my mother-in-law's card in the mail like immediately.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, if you forget, it's probably natural. You're living and running a busy life, but the men around you cannot forget.
I agree. They better not. I've got three in my house who better remember.
All right. So, for all of you watching us today, my name is Bill. With me is my co host, Allison. There you go.
Hey.
And for those of you who may be watching us for the first time, why do we do what we do? We host this episode of a video podcast series called Leave It to the Experts. And in the event, as you are enjoying today's episode and or past episodes, if you feel the need to reach out to us to start a conversation because you want to benefit from uh, either one of our professional services and or you're interested in guesting or special guesting in one of our upcoming episodes, all you need to do, real simple, is scan the QR codes. Allison and or myself will be ready, willing, and able to start a conversation with you. So, Allison, today I have the pleasure of introducing to you and to everyone watching a man that I've come to know. I met him, I'm trying to jog my own memory. I met him, I think it was during COVID times when we were all networking virtually.
Mm-hmm.
And so let me attempt to introduce Michael, last name Maziarek. The reason why many of you watching today, you probably want to listen to what he has to share with you. And it's because, Allison, for both of our businesses, because we're like franchisees in the
Mm-hmm.
business that we're in, right?
Absolutely.
Michael has this wealth of experience, um, adding value, creating, growing, and expanding businesses that have impacted at least two of the human senses that matter to us. The first one is the ability to see. The
Mm-hmm.
second one is the ability to hear. So, without further excitement, let's bring him into the studio. So,
All
one
right.
second.
I'm ready.
Michael, how are you?
Good morning, Bill and Allison. I'm
Good
pleased to be
morning.
here. How are you?
We're good.
Good, 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 good. Well, I'm pleased to be here and honored for the invitation to be able to join the podcast and share some things with you and your audience.
Oh,
Absolutely.
thank you so much.
Yeah. Did you like how I attempted to introduce you, Michael?
Yes, you did a very good job. You did a very good job with it, and I appreciate that. And before we get started, I want to extend my happy Mother's Day wishes to Allison as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Michael. It's not expecting the fanfare. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. So, Michael, let's jump right into a conversation so that we can all learn more about you and hear from you a lot of the different things that have led you to where you are today. So, my first question is, Michael, describe how your successes in being a part of, in growing, expanding B2C, business to consumer franchise businesses, have led you to what you're doing now.
Okay, good question. Well, essentially, probably one of the most basic things that my past experience has done for me now has been that I have kept the same demographic of business in terms of who I deal with. Primarily in terms of my background in franchising, my first entry into franchising, I had the opportunity to take a new franchise concept from startup to, I think we did a little over 200 stores in 6 years. Developing that from ground zero in terms of just the idea, hey, let's franchise this, to basically give me the opportunity to touch every single aspect of franchising, from preparing the franchise offering to supporting a franchise system. And that was extremely beneficial. I mentioned the demographic of my career, including the franchise experience and including the experience now as far as consulting, has been with small to mid-sized business people. Okay. A couple of reasons. Number one, they have a little bit different set of needs than Fortune 500 companies, but more importantly, Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000 companies. But more importantly, what I enjoy the most working with that demographic is what they don't have, and they don't have all the politics and hierarchy they have to deal with in terms of trying to accomplish what you want to accomplish with them.
Sure.
So those are the things I think that have, in terms of my background, that have helped me in terms of doing what I do now. One of the things I realized about that demographic of folks is that really one of the problems that most of these small to mid-sized business people have is that they're trying to promote and market their business and grow their business the way Fortune 500 and 1000 companies do. And that is by building a brand. And building a brand or just basically advertising and exposing what you do simply by advertising platitudes. You know, we've been in business, you know, we provide excellent customer service. Our people are all licensed and bonded. We've been in business for 400 years. Okay, those are all nice things, but what does it really mean to the customer? Okay.
Right.
And so my focus has been to take a little different approach, which as we get through some of the other questions that you have, hopefully those will become answered in terms of what that difference in terms of the way I work with folks is.
Yeah, I hear you. It has to be about you. So I love that. What attributes? Maybe give us the top three. What attributes describe an ideal franchisee?
Okay, I guess the first attribute would be that they need to be entrepreneurial in spirit, but the caveat is they can't be too entrepreneurial in terms of operating properly in a franchise business. And I say that because, they need to be entrepreneurial in the approach that they have of wanting their own business and to be in charge of their own future, et cetera. But they can't be so entrepreneurial that they're not willing, if they choose a franchise, not willing to work within the system, the proven and successful system that the franchisor has developed. That is assuming they choose the right franchise, right?
True. Very true.
Okay. Secondly, the other thing that I think that's very important is whatever business they choose, they have to be truly, truly passionate and excited about what they do every day. They have to, when they wake up in the morning, say, oh boy, I get to go to work today and I get to go to work in my own business, as opposed to going, oh shoot, I got to go to work today. That passion is extremely important. And then the final one that I think is extremely important is they need to have what I call a vision perspective. It's not just what I need to do today, but it's how that will affect achieving where I want to be in the future. Okay. That I think is extremely important in terms of an ideal franchisee.
I believe that, especially the one where you touched on, you have to be entrepreneurial, but not so much to the point where you can't follow the existing roadmap to success. So thank you for sharing with us.
Well, one final comment about that, Bill. I don't know how many franchisees I've dealt with in terms of some of the franchise systems I've supported when I was a W-2 employee with Pearl Vision and with Deck the Walls, the franchise that I grew. I constantly would tell franchisees that not following that system essentially means that they're not getting what they're paying for. Okay, because most people are paying a royalty for the benefit of tying into that system. And if you're not using the tools of that system, then you're not getting what you pay for.
Right on. So Alison, let me throw the baton to you, because I know you have some additional very intriguing questions you want to ask Michael.
Yes, I do. And it's, as this does tend to always happen, Bill, when we have these conversations, a thought is sparked from an answer that our guest gives. And then I just cannot resist the urge to pursue that down a side road for a minute, if I may.
Absolutely.
Okay. I was thinking about what you were talking about with the important qualities of a franchisee, and that kind of spawned two thoughts. Well, the first was a question I had already planned on asking you, and that was, if we look at the different industries that you've touched in your lengthy career, there are, some of them relate to one another. For instance, being in the vision and hearing space, but then, there's Deck the Walls, which is outside of that world. And so I wondered if you could share with us, looking back now, all of your experience building, growing, and supporting these successful franchise systems, what are some of the most common transferable skills that you've identified that are going to benefit someone who's growing a business, regardless of industry, whether or not they are part of a franchise model?
Okay. Yeah. Great question, Alison. Thank you. Some of the core skills that I think are important when an individual is, and I think this applies to both a franchise and an independent business, and getting into an independent business of their own. First of all, they've got to, especially if they're coming out of corporate America, they've got to realize that they're not going to be working 40 hours a week. Okay. It's more like 70 or 80 hours a week, at least initially. I think another key element needs to be that they must be well organized. Time management is crucial as far as I'm concerned in terms of either operating a franchise or an independent type of business. The third skill that I think that is absolutely necessary is excellent managerial skills, not doer skills necessarily. What
Yeah.
they need to do is have the skills to be able to develop and inspire a team to achieve maximum growth potential for their business. Okay, one of the best terms or one of the best definitions of leadership that I've ever heard that I want to share with you and with your audience is that leadership is the ability to get other people to struggle to achieve a common goal. The key word in that definition is struggle. To get other
Wow.
people to struggle to do things that they don't necessarily want to do, but
Right.
do them and not have heartburn for having done them. Okay. But because they've contributed to achieving a common goal, they need to be innovative in terms of the way they view their business. And again, we talked about entrepreneurial and not too entrepreneurial, but by the same token, what they need to do is they need to always be looking at their business and trying to determine how can I differentiate myself from everybody else in the space doing what I'm doing right now. And then finally, to embrace something that I call tasteful dissatisfaction. Okay. And a tasteful dissatisfaction comes in terms of certainly celebrating all the wins and accomplishments that you achieve in your business with your team. But
Yeah.
after doing so, asking yourself, how could that performance have been better? Okay.
Mm.
Not to the extent of, every every strength taken to extreme becomes a weakness. But so what I'm talking about, this tasteful dissatisfaction, and I guess that's where the word tasteful comes from, is you don't want to take it all the way to becoming a perfectionist, that you're never happy with anything that you do. That's why you need to celebrate the successes, but you always got to be looking at what can I do to grow it.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm like making note of these kind of catchphrases and adages that you're sharing because they are really important reminders as someone also operating a small business, especially celebrating the little wins.
Yeah.
A question that I had as a kind of tangent from that discussion. So, one of the things I was thinking about, Michael, is you started building out these franchise systems and exponentially growing these businesses in the 1970s. And one thing that we did not have in the 19, amongst many things that we did not have in the 1970s that we have today is, or that our customers didn't have, was a huge platform to share their opinions, be it good or bad, and the power of what someone can do with this bad boy right here, how that can impact a business's bottom line and a small business owner. And so I wanted to get an idea for if or how your approach to how you train those who run franchisees and their teams, their approach to customer service now that we live in a world where, unfortunately for some people, if you look at them sideways, they are going to make it their life's mission to destroy you and your business and everything you've built.
Okay. Well, essentially, my answer might surprise you, Allison, and it hasn't changed. Okay. Because part of our initial training back in the 70s, when we would deal with franchise owners, always talked about customer service. And obviously, the cliche, the customer always comes first and the customer is always right. Those are certainly cliche, more than cliches. They're actually truths and fundamental truths of being successful in terms of selling products or services to other people. Um, but what I used to tell people is, it especially when we went through the training with folks in Deck the Walls, as it relates to customers, I said, you're there to serve the customer's needs. You need to recognize that in terms of doing that, you have to get into the customer's head.
Mm.
And getting into the customer's head, what you find is that they have two questions. The first question is, or the first thing going on, I'm sorry, they're not questions, but there's two things going on in their head. Number one, they have a problem that they don't have a solution for.
Right.
or they have a problem that they don't want. And the second thing is there's a solution to that problem they don't have. And what you need to do in dealing with customers is to satisfy both of those things. Okay, number one, make them aware of, to get their attention, that you're aware of the problem that they have that they don't want. And secondly, then tell them how, versus your competitors, you're able to solve that problem. Now, what I talked about, Allison, in terms of the dissatisfaction of customers and how important it is. What I used to tell them back in the 70s, when I was only 12, by the way, back now I'm teasing. What I used to tell them back in the 70s just gets multiplied exponentially right now. Because what I used to tell people is, I said, if you please one customer, they're going to tell two friends of theirs.
Right.
If you upset that customer, they're going to tell 22 friends of theirs.
Yeah.
Okay, so which would you rather have? Well, now again, you can explode that exponentially. Okay, in terms of what the internet and what social media can do. I mean, it can either contribute in a big way to significantly helping a company, or it can destroy a company. Okay, and we've seen examples of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
We see
sounds like
examples
what you're saying, if I'm understanding you correctly. Well, first of all, your answer did surprise me a little bit, because I was expecting to hear maybe more of a paradigm shift somewhere along the way. But it's a pleasant surprise, because it sounds like what you're really saying is, at the end of the day, if your intentions are pure and you really are just there to help solve your customers' problems, then the rest will kind of take care of itself.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
I did want to make sure we got to one of the other questions that we had shared with you before we got together today, because of course the only way that any of this works for anyone once you've invested money in starting a business is to have longevity. And the statistics are, I don't know about within the franchise world, but in small businesses, in real estate and restaurants, and pick an industry, the stats are pretty abysmal for the amount of small business owner operators who have to bail after year one, year two. So what would you say are some of the biggest pitfalls for new business owners graduating from that freshman year, maybe having a little bit of success and needing to build on that, replicate and build on that in future years?
Well, seriously, the first one being not recognizing that they need to help me grow, or that they need to hire me to help them grow. That's a joke. That's a joke.
There's truth in every joke, though.
Oh, seriously though, I think there are a number of things. When Bill sent me the questions, I jotted a few down. Number one, if it's a franchise, a mistake that people make is that in year two and above and further on, what they start doing is discounting the benefits and the experience that the franchisor can offer them in the relationship. Assuming that they've chosen the right franchisor and that they're getting the kind of support and expertise from their franchisor. But a lot of times what winds up happening with folks is they kind of get the I know it all kind of thing right now after about a year or two's experience, and they know better than the franchisor. Sometimes that's true, sometimes that's not true. Diminished recognition that execution of plans is really the key to success. A long time ago, somebody told me a expert plan poorly executed is not as good as a mediocre plan excellently executed. Okay, and a lot of times people, as they get more experience in business, lose sight of that, and that's very important. One of the other things I've seen is that especially businesses that have taken off the first year very well, or better than the entrepreneur or owner thought they would, they're making a lot of money, and sometimes people drift into an income comfort zone. They don't really want to make more money, okay, or they're not really that interested in making more money. They've got the accoutrements and the support of their family and their kids and their education and so forth taken care of, and they get somewhat complacent, forgetting the importance of both working in your business and working on your business. Okay, everybody that gets into business of their own knows how to work in their business. The guy knows how to make the best pizza in town, but has he taken a step back in terms of looking at not only where his business is now, but where it needs to be 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now? And probably one of the biggest things, and this is what I do a lot of work with clients on, is that people develop, or as they get into year 2 and above, they get into trying to find what I call the silver bullet. And I'm telling you, in over 40 years in business, I can tell you and your audience there is no silver bullet. There is no one thing that you can do that's going to propel your business to the next level of exponential growth. However, if you take a look and take advantage of the compounding effect that making small increases in a number of areas of your business, that, by the way, in all businesses, there's 12 areas that I work with clients that are agnostic to product, service, or industry, independent or franchise. Making small increases in those areas, and there's 12 of them, have a compounding effect that even if you could find that silver bullet, which isn't there, the growth that you get out of making those small increases in the number of areas that you can really blows away what your performance is versus looking for that silver bullet. And then finally, like I said earlier, looking, the what winds up happening is losing the sense of having to look at your business innovatively, okay, and not getting locked into the final thing I'll tell you about this, not locking into what I've termed an environment of givens. And what the environment of givens involves is we're doing these things because we always did them. We're doing these things because that's what the industry does.
Yeah.
And the locking into an environment of givens, whatever the source of those givens are, is what prevents most people from both developing and maintaining a market dominating position for themselves by distinguishing themselves the benefits of working with them versus working with one of their competitors.
Wow.
All makes sense. You sound like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah. You think so? Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliment.
You've done this before.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Not my first rodeo.
And what you shared with us is so true, Michael, because I know this for my business, and I think for Alison's business as well. We look to our franchisor, right? The organization entity that we're a part of that sponsors our license. And we have coaches and mentors. And at the end of the day, I think you touched on one thing that's so true, which is, you got to execute the plan. You got to do the work. It's so true. There's no silver bullet.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
There's not. Yep.
So for all of you watching today, if you are a potential franchisee, or if you're currently a franchisee and looking to grow and expand your business to get to your next level, let me share with you an offer from Michael. His offer to all of you watching today, whether you are a franchisee, a brand new one, a growing one, and or independent business owners like Alison and myself, take advantage of this offer from Michael. And that is, visit his website. The URL is shown here. There is a book that you can download to hear more of what his experience offers to you. And of course, if you are so inclined to have a personal conversation, a consultation with Michael, you can absolutely engage him through his website as well. So, Michael, as we wrap up today's conversation, I want to say first and foremost, thank you for sharing your time with Alison and myself. Thank you for sharing a lot of information that I think all of us benefit from, whether we are independent business owners, franchisees, and I would even add this one. Even if you are a W-2 business development or sales professional, some to all of what you shared with all of us is so very true.
Well, you're most welcome. And the thing that the final comment that I have is in kind of where I am with my career and why I enjoy doing these kinds of things. Is someone told me earlier in my career that the first third of your career the first third of your career you spend learning, the second third of your career you spend earning, and the third of your career you spend giving back. And one of the things I get a lot of joy out of is to be able to help businesses and see them where we start and see them grow, implement some of the things I can help them with, and see them being able to make a better life for themselves, for their families, and for their kids. And I go on to tell people, however, while I get a lot of personal satisfaction out of seeing people better their lives and making life better for people, it's not to the extent where I feel guilty taking consulting fees for it. So,
Of course, absolutely.
Anyway, but again, I really appreciate the opportunity to share what I shared today with you guys and with your audience. And thank you so very much. And have a wonderful weekend.
You do the same, sir. And Alison, once again, enjoy your special day this weekend. And I will look forward to seeing you, Alison, in the next episode. And for all of our audience members, we look forward to seeing you in the next episode as well, where we're going to highlight another expert so that if you have a problem, as Alison and I always mention, it's better to leave it to the experts. Have a good day, everyone.
Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.